Most of you who didn't know, US Congress was deciding Nigeria's fate yesterday on the 20th of November 2025. US Congress was deciding Nigeria's fate about Christians being attacked in Nigeria and also trying to make a conclusion on what the US should do about the situation. If it's to take military action decisively against the Nigerian government and those terrorists, or to form an alliance with the Nigerian government. So they sat down, deliberating, discussing, and even brought proof, witnesses to the Congress to speak on Nigeria issue about Christian genocide, Christian being attacked in Nigeria. So I know most of you, we have so many issues now in Nigeria. We have Nnamdi Kanu, we have other celebrity issues, and now we have Christians issue in Nigeria. And I know most of you were already carried away concerning other issues. But right now, let us look into what most of all those US congressmen and women have to say about this, and also try to deliberate on it. And at the end of the day, I hope you yourself, you're going to make a conclusion to see, okay, should the US come in, or they shouldn't come in, or they should collaborate with the government to come in, or they should just come in on their own? Because that's what the Nigerian government is trying as much as possible to avoid. Because it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful and disrespectful as a Nigerian government. The US will just come in and start bombarding. No, they will need Nigeria approval, and Nigeria want to collaborate with them, not them just coming in. That's what the Nigerian government wants. They want to collaborate with the United States of America. And they want the United States of America to stop that ideology, to stop saying Christian. They should just use the word Nigeria are facing terrorist issues and they need help, not side it to Christian. That is what the Nigerian government is trying as much as possible to remove from the US mind, the word Christian. They are trying to remove that Christian out of the whole discussion. Well, we are going to listen to some of the congressmen and congresswomen and what they have to say, and also kind of like speak on it and also deliberate on it as well. Firstly, where are we going to start? Because there were lots of people who made their statement that day. I don't want to really waste most of your time, so we are going to select some to talk about and then leave the rest. So let's play this one from Congressman Murray.
The event, it just seems to make all the sense in the world to me. It's like, here we are. I mean, I understand we're not going to get like ISIS to lay their arms down. That's probably more of a kinetic option there that's going to result in their arms no longer being brought up in anger against Christians. But in any event, this seems to be something that, obviously, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is something that they should be doing, they should be looking at. And while I got just a couple seconds left, I would urge the Nigerian government to take a look at pardoning Sunday Jackson, who is an individual who was fighting for his own life, defending his life against one of these Fulani militants. That Fulani militant lost his life in that struggle, and now that person, Sunday Jackson, is facing the death penalty. Now, where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in that? And all these Fulani militants are breaking the law. They are breaking Nigerian law. And so this Sunday Jackson disarms this person with a knife, protects his own life. He's going to prison and now faces the death penalty. And Fulani militants just roaming bands of them with AK-47s, and that's no problem. You are so right about this question of prioritization. I know I'm over time, Mr. Chairman, but I appreciate
Now let's talk about Sunday Jackson that Congressman Murray is talking about. For those of you who do not know Sunday Jackson, here is Sunday Jackson. This man is facing life imprisonment simply because he defended himself against a armed Fulani herdsman. This man is facing life imprisonment. We have talked about this man before. I have talked about this man on this channel before. We discussed about him. And we have recommended, called on the government to do the needful. And now, so the Jackson issue has gone to United States of America Congress. That is to tell you that they are very, very much aware. They are very, very much aware. Ordinarily, Nigeria shouldn't be seeing US as the messiah to help them. Nigeria should be seeing Nigeria government as the messiah to help them. But unfortunately, the government is playing one side. It's playing one side. So look at it, guys. This is Sanjay Jackson. For those of you who do not know him, now you know him. Please try as much as possible to read through his story to see how this man is being placed on life sentence, all because he defended himself against a harmed Fulani herdsman. Can you guys imagine? So go and read more about that one. That was what Senator Murray was talking about. Then let's listen to this other. Okay, let's check this one out.
It depends on where. It's a very short but very powerful video. Good afternoon, good evening. It depends on where you're watching us from. I am Reverend Father Philip Apple, the coordinator of the Foundation for Justice, Development and Peace, FJDP, of the Catholic Diocese of Makurdi, Benue State, here in Nigeria. I am here with one of the survivors of the Yelwater massacre of 13th of June 2025 here in Nigeria, where we lost over 200 lives in a single night. So she is here to be witness as one of the survivors of that grave attack. So we'll listen to her. That her name is Nsoshima Akpen.
That woman gave testimony of how she lost her husband and lost 5 children. She is only left with one and herself. At the water attack, more than 200 and something people died. So US congressmen came with receipt. They came with receipt to talk and deliberate on it. They didn't just come and start talking what they do not know. They came with receipt and they came with witnesses to speak. So that is one of the victims. The woman you see her here. You see her here. There's a video. So that's one of the victims who spoke. Not in US Congress, but a direct live video. Gave a testimony as well. So let's listen to another congressman. And meanwhile, before I forget this, the same Benue State, this is the state governor. The state governor that said that it is wrong. He's a reverend father. The state governor said it is wrong for anybody to say there is a Christian being targeted in Nigeria. And there is no jihad in Benue State, according to the state governor. Not just we saw him talking, there is a video proof of him addressing some certain people about that issue. And I'm going to play that later. Let's continue with this one is Congresswoman Sarah Jacob.
To say that I appreciate the chairman's passion on this and his long work on Nigeria. I think it's a distortion to say that what we're trying to say is that there's nothing to see here. In fact, there is something to see here. There is very real conflict and violence that we need to address. I've been working on addressing conflict in Nigeria since 2013, 2014, when I was part of the counter Boko Haram strategy at the State Department. The violence impacting both Christian and Muslim communities is real, and the Nigerian government can and should do more to address it. I was horrified to learn of the killing of 2 people and the kidnapping of the pastor and a worshiper at a church in Kwara State. And this came only a few days after, as the chairman mentioned, criminal bandits kidnapped 25 girls in Kebbi State. But it is counterproductive to adopt oversimplistic narratives about the multiple complex overlapping security challenges and violence across the country. The victims in the Kebbi State kidnapping were all Muslim girls. So violence affects everyone, and false narratives perpetuate harmful stereotypes and motivate tensions and violence based on religious identity. Distorting what's happening into a solely religious narrative erases the real drivers of violence and makes it harder to implement effective solutions. And it can fuel violence against the very groups the Trump administration claims it wants to protect. That's why I'm alarmed by President Trump's rhetoric about this violence and threats to go into Nigeria, guns a-blazing, and to wipe out terrorists.
Okay, according to Congresswoman, U.S. Representative Sarah Jacob, she said it's wrong to say there is just Christian being targeted in Nigeria, that such ideology is going to stir more violence between religion groups. That, and he also cited that in Kebbi State, those girls that were kidnapped were all Muslim girls. And in Kwara State, those people that were kidnapped were all Christians. That everybody feels this insecurity. And the Nigerian government can do more, and they should do more. That Donald Trump is wrong for making such statement. That's coming from Congresswoman Sarah Jacob. Then let's listen to this other woman.
Thankfully, case for Nigeria's CPC designation last March. Thankfully, President Trump listened, and he made his decision based on 2 criteria. One, under the International Religious Freedom Act, that these were severe violations of religious freedom, and that the government of Nigeria, President Tinubu, was either actively engaged or tolerating these violations. Those are the criteria of the...
So according to the US saying now, they are saying that, there is this law. The USA ordinarily do not have the right to come to Nigeria, but there's an international law that is signed and agreed as a country. Before you say you are a country, you must agree with some certain terms, to some certain human rights, protection of religion, irrespective of those religion, human rights. And the USA have optimus right to go into somewhere they feel like you are not protecting a certain religion group. And according to the US, they said it's either Tinubu is actively among the Islamists or is just tolerating them. So those are the 2 recommended things from the US representative. There are still more. I want to check on this this woman, Oge Unugbogu, who is also... Let's listen to her, guys.
Employer. I wanted to share my views before this committee today. Just want to state that CSIS does not take policy positions, so the views represented in this testimony are my own and not those of my employer. In this testimony, I would like to reinforce the recommendations that I made before this committee in March. In addition, I would like to reflect on how this tenuous moment in US-Nigeria relations provide an opportunity for both countries to work together to address the critical threats of jihadist violence and insecurity in Nigeria, and to develop a more strategic partnership. The United States and Nigeria have a complicated bilateral relationship with shared interest in counterterrorism and economic development. But this relationship is often marked by periods of friction. Nigeria wields significant continental and regional influence, but grapples with violent extremism and internal security. Nigeria's leadership in West Africa is crucial, and its ability to address its governance and security challenges will impact not only its future, but the wider region. Nigeria's instability stems from a key shortcoming. Despite 64 years of independence, it has yet to establish a national identity grounded in basic freedoms and dignity. Currently, ethnicity, religion, and language, rather than nationality, define the identity of its diverse population. Understanding the violence in Nigeria requires looking beyond its apparent religious and ethnic motivations. For me, growing up in Jos Plateau State, I've witnessed the impacts of these ongoing conflicts on vibrant communities. In addition, coming from a family involved in Christian missionary work, I recognize the shared faith between Christian communities in Nigeria's Middle Belt and those in the US, rooted in the history of American missionary efforts. However, a narrow narrative that reduces Nigeria's security situation to a single story and frames it solely as the persecution of Christians oversimplifies the issue. Religious and ethnic violence is driven more by governance failures and is worsened by hate speech and conspiracy theories rather than being just a singular conflict. Nigeria is facing multiple security crises due to religious extremism, banditry, criminality, resource competition, communal disputes, and separatist agitation. These issues are intertwined with history, poverty, and political contestation. The interplay between religion and politics in Nigeria is deep and complex. Leaders often romanticize the country's unity, but fail to foster it, as we saw in the divisive 2023 elections. As Nigeria approaches another national election in 2027, religion will once again continue to influence candidate selection, voter behavior, and campaign strategies. The Trump administration's claims that Nigeria is permitting targeted killings of Christians distracts from the broader issue of extremist violence and insecurity in the country. Since returning to civilian rule in 1999, Nigeria has been a major recipient of US security assistance, primarily aimed at counterterrorism. Despite
That woman widely understands Nigeria problem than many of us. I don't think she's not speaking from the place of hate. She is speaking from the place of clarity and broad understanding of Nigeria problem. He's not a bad Christian. He's a bad politician manipulating us. It's about separatism, religion, ethnic, evil language. It is deeply rooted in us. And the politicians specialize and make use of all those avenues. She also talked about 2027 election that is upcoming. And she said the same thing is going to play. These politicians are going to use the same factors again to get votes. And even if they don't get the vote, we have the judicial system. They should also speak about our judicial system, and they should also speak the truth that our judicial system do not work. Well, our fate is being decided, and meanwhile, according to what I heard yesterday, they said US and Nigeria to form task force on Christian persecution allegations. State Department, the United States say it will partner with Nigeria government to develop a joint task force aimed at addressing allegations of Christian persecution in the country. So I think that is the conclusion. They are going to join us together to fight it. So let's see what will happen. There are so much more I would have loved to show you guys, but you can see we have used most of our time. So I'm just going to end this video here, and I hope you go deeply into research of the things I'm not able to cover. And have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, and bye.